Hey folks, it's Monday morning, just heading to the office. I'm gonna go to a question that came in from a resume review, and this individual was asking about cumulative GPAs on their resumes. So I figured I'd talk about that. That's actually from my main channel, Dev Leader, so this is just a reminder for folks that if you want questions answered, leave them below in the comments, or you can message me on social media. Dev Leader is my main social media handle. You can find me as Nick Cosentino on LinkedIn as well. But like I said, this is from a resume review that'll be going up on my main channel. So this will be a quicker video, and then I'll probably film another one on the drive here as well. But I'm going to share, because I've talked about this in previous videos, my perspective on GPAs and stuff for resumes. But then also, probably what this person actually cares about, because the framing for this was that they said, I'm including it and I have questions about it because some of the jobs I'm applying to do require that I have it listed. So my opinion on GPAs and stuff is going to be kind of at odds with this, but a couple things I wanted to touch on. The first is that depending on what your schooling and stuff is like, so say you've gone, because a bunch of people that submit resumes and talk to me about careers and stuff, it's not always a traditional path. Sometimes it's they're career switchers, so they've gone back to school because they want to go do computer science or software engineering or something. If you have multiple degree programs or something like that, you've gone to school multiple diplomas, degrees, whatever it happens to be, truly for different majors. My understanding is that a cumulative GPA, you would have separate ones for your education. So I think the person was asking about this primarily because they had, at some point in time, their GPA was really low. They kind of were giving up on school. They're screw it. And then eventually they went back and did a lot better. When I was reading through this the first time, I wasn't sure if they meant they went for some program and they were kind of whatever, I'm going to bail on this. And then later they went for a different program entirely. So I wanted to go look this up. My understanding, though, is that you would have two cumulative GPAs, one for each of your passes through college or university if they were different programs. So that means, in my opinion, if you were I really bombed I went to be an econ major, and then I didn't like it and went back to school later for computer science, I would just not include the econ part, or the first pass if it was really terrible, especially if it's not going to be relevant. Just don't include it. You can talk about your cumulative GPA for the education that's relevant. Now, that's not actually what happened in this person's case, though. So I'm glad I was kind of reading through it a couple of times, and maybe I still misunderstood. But my final understanding is that they didn't go take another program. They went back for the same thing to finish it. So that means the first couple of years they had a really crappy GPA, and then later on, basically they were recovering their GPA the entire time. So unfortunately, my understanding for this is that you do need to include the whole thing. It's still it's still the only program that this person had gone through in this case. And because it's the only one, all parts of it, whether it was the first attempt or later on coming back to finish it, that's still all of it needs to go into the cumulative. Okay, so a couple different angles there. One is that you would have separate cumulative GPAs if you went for different programs, but if you're going back for the same thing to finish it, and now you're doing better, the cumulative part should include your first years or however long when you maybe weren't doing so well. Okay, so that's the first part, and like I said, probably the part that this person really cares about, especially if they're applying to places that are listing out that they require a GPA. Now, I'm not a big fan of GPAs, and I've talked about this in other videos. Even the prestige of schools and stuff like that, like, I just don't care. I've spent very little time actually looking at that, and I don't know if I can't like directly quote myself because I am driving and not literally watching a video where I've said it, but the idea behind my thought process on this stuff is that really for interns, it's probably the only time I'll look at like or pay attention to school and grades, and it's not even for probably the reasons that come to mind for you. Like, I look at the school because when I was working at a startup and we had sort of like pipelines of students coming from different schools, I just wanted to understand which pipelines were working well and which ones weren't, right? So if it was like, hey, for context, I worked in the city of Waterloo back in Ontario, and there's a bit of a tech hub between Kitchener, Waterloo. There's a couple of universities, a couple of colleges, and it's a tech hub. So because we had a bunch of schools there, it was helpful to understand, like, hey, like, is this only coming from the University of Waterloo? Are we getting everyone coming from Conestoga College? Why don't we have anyone coming from Wilfrid Laurier University, because they do have like computer science? I had a roommate that was going to Laurier for computer science and business as a double degree. So like, why don't we have people applying from there? Do we have to invest more in the pipeline there? So like, that's really the only reason I would look. And then for grades, honestly, it was not like a make or break thing. It was more to understand, if we have, for like context, if we have small teams. So I managed a couple of small teams for the majority of time that I was there. And if we have small teams and we have to take on someone who is very, very junior, right? Like, they haven't even hit like some of their programming classes in school, and looking at their resume, we're like, you know, they're not like actively kind of building stuff. It's not that they're going to be terrible or something like that. We understand that they're interns, but I need to understand if my team's going to be able to accommodate that. That's all. And if not, then maybe we have another team that has more people on it, and based on their deliverables that are coming up, they might be able to sustain that a lot more reasonably, right? So it's not to say absolutely not or whatever. Like, they're interns. Obviously, it's going to be learning, and that's, in my opinion, that should be the focus, right? For having interns on, give them a good experience, help them learn, and you know, hopefully they can do a kick-ass job and they come back. But if we can't sustain having someone on who literally needs to be taught how to program like from scratch, then like it's not going to be a good experience for that intern or for a team I might have. And that could change over time, right? So we might be in a spot where we're like, hey, we actually can accommodate that on our team, so let's go ahead and do that. So it's just for context, right? So that's the only time I really look at grades. Otherwise, I just don't give a shit. As someone, like, for me, when I was in university, my first years at university, my marks were terrible. I went from having like 95% averages in everything in high school to like 50s in my first year of university. And it's not like I just instantly got stupid. It's just that how things were presented to me and how I had to approach learning was very, very different. So I did very poorly academically in the beginning, and every year after that, every semester, my average was going up and up and up. So I kind of look at things in a similar way when it comes to GPAs. Like, I don't think that a GPA is reflective of how someone's going to perform on the job. Could there be a correlation? Perhaps. I'm not saying there isn't, but I don't want that to be like the deciding factor. One might argue if we had two candidates that looked the exact same in every single way, and one of them happened to have a higher GPA, like, sure, maybe that is a tiebreaker. I don't know. But like, it's just not something that I actually care about. So I think that's really all I wanted to say about this one. We'll keep it pretty short. But yeah, cumulative GPAs, something to keep in mind. I don't know of many employers that are like requiring that, but I'm not actively looking, so maybe that's becoming more common. I'm not sure. something to pay attention to. So hope that helps, and I will go do the next video. Take care.